In the tunnel.
In the tunnel.
In the tunnel. You're listening to In the Tunnel.
Hello and welcome to In the Tunnel, episode number 101. Been a little bit of time, but we want to talk about contracts as NHL free agency has just started. Bobby Bonilla Day was about 2 weeks ago now, and we felt it was a good time to do this sort of deep dive. So, why don't we start with the person who shares the day with Bobby Bonilla in Rick DiPietro?
Yeah, so what was it back in
Uh,
2006 to '07?
yeah. So he signed it in '06. It
Yeah,
was a 15-year, $67.5 million contract at the time, paid all the way through to 2020 to 2021 if it didn't get bought out, but it was. In 2013, it was bought out. So now he's paid until 2028, July 1st. Another 6 years.
mm-hmm.
And this is because he was out of the NHL after the 2012-2013 season. Um, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate for him, but also that deal, it got like I'm pretty sure this deal got Mike Milbury fired, who's like the worst GM in Islanders history or something at the or
Wasn't
just
it that he got fired because he didn't want to make the deal, or
yeah, because then they brought in somebody and the requirement was they made the deal, and I think that was Garth Snow or something.
interesting?
Yeah, but yeah, somehow it got Milbury fired, and Islanders fans are happy. Um, but yeah, they still were left with this. He gets paid $1.5 million for the next 6 years. Considering he's already
Until 2028, 29.
yeah. So another 6 years of it, he got paid $1.5 million on July 1st. So right now he's a co-host of a morning show for ESPN New York, and he's a analyst for ESPN and a college hockey coach. But let's talk
High
about this
school.
contract, right? So it's a 4.5 million average annual value at the time, which is really high considering the NHL salary cap is not that high for like 22, 23 players. Right now it's in the 80 millions, but back then it was not there. So right now it would be worth 98 million if he were to sign the same like with inflation the same type of contract, right?
Mm-hmm. I
So
wonder if the same cap restrictions exist for a percentage of cap too.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, since then there's been newer, like, since then there's a limit on the length of contract now too because of Ilya Kovalchuk, which I don't know if we'll get to, but yeah, there's a bunch of different restrictions.
I don't know what the CBA limit is, but I don't think I've seen. Well, it has to have been ratified since the
Yeah,
two wild contracts, but
yeah, it has to. But yeah, this contract turned out to be pretty bad for the Islanders. Everybody thought it would be because they're still paying him, still taking a cap hit. So
All we know was actually, now that I think about it, wasn't Gaudreau's contract the other day 10 years?
Gaudreau's contract was 7 years, 9.8 million. He
Okay.
could go up to 10 years though, definitely.
Well, was that because he was with Calgary and they offered
No,
Calgary
because
for
I
sure?
think the Devils were gonna offer 8 years. Yeah, maybe Calgary could go up to 10 years, but I think the
Yeah,
Devils were offering eight
like
years.
like a restricted free agency, the home or the team that has his rights. Or I
Maybe
don't know.
I,
He was a UFA,
he was a
so
UFA.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing more to say about this. This is like a New York special because of Bobby Bonilla and this. Both teams have a pretty bad buyout contract on their books right now.
It's
Bonilla's is a
also a
little
New York
worse.
special. Yeah, it's a New York special also because it's a world class fuck up, and only in New York City is that done not once but twice.
Yep. All right. Why don't we look at the next one? So we have Chris Davis, who signed a 7 year, $161 MLB contract. So it's an average of 23 million a year. For 7 years, obviously, he would retire in 21 and be bought out in the 22 season. So
Yeah.
he gets $9 million for 23 to 25, 3.5 million from 26 to 32, and 1.4 from 33 to 37, which is $42 million of deference. That is a long buyout, but I mean, at the same time, they only bought him out in 22, right? Not 23? Because he
Let's
retired in
see.
21, so they bought him out in 22.
I have to find it.
Because that looks like a weirdly loaded contract if they're able to defer for that long.
It was loaded. Um, it was three different amounts if I remember.
Yeah.
Um, it was. It started with a high amount of. Oh, okay. From 2026 to 2020 or to 2032,
3.5.
he's 3.5 million.
Yeah. But I'm
Then
saying,
1.4 million from
yeah.
2033 to
Yeah, but
37.
what I'm saying is they only bought him out in the last year of his contract. So they had $42 million still to pay him in the buyout.
I think potentially the contract was supposed to run longer because he's only 36 now.
Oh. Okay.
So it was,
Because that's
yeah,
a. Okay. Okay.
I gotta figure that one out
All right. Well, I
because
mean, that's still pretty bad buyout length, in my opinion. And that's
so
gonna.
he signed a 7 year contract on 2016.
Yeah. So
So that
20,
would have taken him to
23, which is
20.
next year.
Yeah. So he retired 2 years
Oh.
out of his contract.
Oh. So yeah, they get the free pass for this year, and they have to start buying him. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's look at another bad hockey contract. David Clarkson, the Devil, well, ex-Devil before he went to the Maple Leafs. 7 years, 36 and three quarters million dollars with an AAV of 5.25 million, which is really high for what he does for hockey. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. Yep. Because he was never more than what he never topped 50 points.
Yeah, never. He was a grit guy. He was physical. He played along the boards. Was never afraid to make contact or get hit.
Yeah.
But like
46-point career high for a season
yeah,
and
and
was -8 doing it.
yep, that was a devil season, right?
2012.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
second to
then
last year.
he also had a 14-team NTC, no trade clause. This is back when there were two less teams in hockey.
Yes, but how the no trade clause worked then for his contract, I believe, was
He had a no an MC, no movement clause, which is even worse.
right, but wasn't that after a set number of years it was adjusted or something?
Yeah, something like that.
So he could initially submit a 14-team list. If they didn't, then if the players are representation didn't submit that, then
Then it's whatever. He can be dealt whatever.
right. But then 2 years later, they have veto rights or something.
Yeah. But anyway, he never got more than 15 points a season in Toronto, and he was finally traded to Columbus in 2014.
Yes, after a year and a half in Toronto.
Yeah, and he only had 4 points in 2 seasons. Didn't really play much.
Because he was bought out there.
Yep. Which is hurting.
Him.
Yep. All
I
right.
think what's hurting him more was the fact that he is 38 years old and declined basically and fell off a cliff in his prime years because he had 11 points at the age of 29.
I mean, I also think when you pay
15
some
at
guy
30.
5.25 million, you're trying to put him in a role that he doesn't do, right? He was a fourth liner that was there to be physical and, play along the boards. $5.5 million is not a fourth line player. It's not even a third line player. You have to be top two in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
So I also feel like it was like kind of, they were just now caught in, they're spending so much on this guy, they have to play him in a way, and he's just not that.
Yep.
All right, well, let's also take a look at the Canucks, who signed Roberto Luongo to a 12-year, $64 million contract at his time. He had also had...
Looking back on it now, 12 years for 64 million is child's play for what today's money is.
But I mean, yeah, he was supposed to be the star goalie, so five and a third AAV is child's play now, but that was still 10% of the cap back then, wasn't it?
I mean, I guess, and I also guess that you have a point in that goaltenders really don't control all the cap
Yeah.
because statistically speaking, what's a 1% difference over the course of 82
Yeah,
games?
like
But
you have Montreal, right, with Carey Price, who has the highest goalie contract at like 8 million or 10 million. I forget what.
right, but
And
Montreal is the largest goaltender contract ever.
yes, and it's not really helping them as much as, getting a goaltender worth 5 million and using that money to get another weapon or even a second, a third line weapon and a second line weapon.
Also, I'd say the same thing of Bobrovsky in
Yeah,
Florida, who's getting 10 million a year.
yeah, I agree. So, like, goaltenders are in a weird spot because there's two of them. You pay one of them quite a bit more usually, but at the same time, their position isn't really the one that commands the most money. Because this is still a fairly big contract for a goaltender to sign if they're like a middle of the pack goaltender. You don't really see a
So,
goalie sign this contract. You see them sign like a $4 million contract, I feel like, or a Bobrovsky and a Price contract.
so Price makes 10.5, Bobrovsky makes 10, Vasilevsky makes 9.5, and then John Gibson makes 6.4.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
high.
But
And
you can see top three, and then John Gibson, $3 million lower.
and then now the Toronto Matt Murray, who makes 6.25, which is its own nightmare. Hellebuck makes 6.16.
But
Bennington makes 6 even, Markstrom 6 even, Grubauer just under 6,
Yeah.
Quick still under 6.
So I feel
Just
like 5 1/3 is like a middle of the pack kind of goalie rate.
So let me just say that anybody from number 4 with Gibson at 6.4 to Sorokin at 25
The Rangers,
is
yeah.
within that $2 million difference.
Yeah. So like goalies are in a weird spot. You pay the best of the best, which I would say Bobrovsky, Vasilevsky, and
Martin
Price
Jones.
are the best of the best. You pay them a lot of money, but if you look at Tampa Bay, they're having a bunch of cap issues, even though players are taking slightly more team friendly contracts. Aside from Sergachev, we have no idea what that is. But the rest of them, they didn't maybe take the most team friendly contract, but sure they could have gotten more money.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're still paying Vasilevsky 9.5, right? So,
Yeah.
but again, that's literal. There's such a difference between the top three and the rest of the pack.
It makes me wonder because of how the Lightning have been so competitive for so long and at the top competing for finals every year, what the dynamic of that team would be if they kept everybody but Vasilevsky and just every year played with a different goaltender. Because as you said, to me, it's, like a new guy comes in and what's the real difference if
So, I
he's
mean,
competent?
the problem is how long it takes goaltenders to develop, I think. And that's
True,
what
but you
allows
draft guys and they're in control at the NHL level for at least 3 years once they're there.
but okay, like the problem is like you see Mackenzie Blackwood, right? He had one great season, then he followed up with last season. What the heck, right? I mean,
Hmm.
the Devils are bad. Don't get me wrong; it's not his fault, but like his play was different,
Yeah,
and
but
there is some merit to the top goaltenders. It's just the rest of the team really needs to take a team friendly contract. It just doesn't work otherwise because you give up so much firepower, as you're saying, right? Like the Avalanche, they made it fine. Tampa Bay has had players taking slightly more team friendly contracts every time, but that period is going to run out.
yeah, it kind of did run
But
out before it even started
but
because
no,
they had to.
they had
Yeah,
others take
yeah.
more team friendly contracts before this. What I'm saying is they
I'm
made
referring all the way back to before their competitive window was actually what it was. I'm referring to the Jonathan Drouin stuff.
oh yeah, okay. They got
They
rid of him
got
though,
rid
didn't
of
they?
guy. Yeah, they traded him because he wanted all that money.
Yeah.
And so their system started before they were even competing for, the finals because
Hmm.
they were getting to the conference finals at that point in time, but they also didn't have their players develop into what they are now at this point.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, if you look at Tampa Bay, you always see Hedman and Stamkos, and they lead the team pretty well, I think.
Yeah, and Hedman wasn't, you know, the star he was beforehand.
No, but like it's paid off for them, but I think it's going to start to decline. Like they lost Palat. I mean, there's no guarantee Palat's going to do what he did in Tampa Bay, but he still was
I would
a
say not.
pretty like he's still probably worth something. It's just they couldn't pay the 6 mil or 5 mil for him, whatever he would have wanted.
Right. Again, what I'm saying is, you know, yeah, Palat probably isn't the most talented piece that you build around keeping versus Vasilevsky, but I'm just saying it intrigues me that
Yeah.
um, teams don't say everything in front of this goaltender seems to be flawless, so the goaltender is interchangeable to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of see that with other teams.
Like the Penguins.
The Penguins literally just don't give a crap about their goaltender.
Well, that's because all their goaltenders are fucking head cases and need to go to, psychiatric help.
Hey, it takes a type of person to allow 100-mile-an-hour pucks to be shot at you, okay?
Yeah, that person doesn't have to go to therapy because of the 100-mile-per-hour pucks, though.
They have to be in a certain state of mind to allow a puck to come flying at them, though.
Yes, it's called sedated.
Anyway, so this guy had a modified no movement clause, which was a 5-team list. Um, but he ended up being traded to the Panthers in 13. And he would play there until the 18-19 season. This was a few years into that deal.
Well, you say play, but let's really,
No, he played for the first 2 years
yeah,
at least.
yeah. When I say 2018-19, I mean like at that point it was sparingly.
Oh yeah. But in 13, in like 14 and 15, he was playing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying like he declined as all
Yeah.
players
But
do.
the Florida's another case. Like they had Radulov and they had a bunch of youngsters. Like Ekman Larson was on the Panthers at that time. I'm pretty sure. Like,
What? Oliver Ekman Larson?
or no, was it? So who? Oh, was it Ekblad on the Panthers? I forget.
Yeah, Ekman Larson was drafted by the
Yeah,
Coyotes.
the Coyotes, right? But they had like young players, and
Is he
even though
still in
the
the league?
Panthers were bad, the team was okay. Like it wasn't really Longo's fault they were losing or winning. It was how did the offense in front of him kind of show up? They weren't like goalies. Like you pay for an elite goaltender with a 930 save percentage, right? But your average goaltender can still hit like a 900 or a 910 save percentage. So like my and our point is like, is that extra 3 million really where you want to spend that money for an extra 20 save percentage,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. So I mean that's why this contract was kind of bad. It would have been worse if it was signed in today's world, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but we know now that it probably is a shorter contract in today's world by at least 2 years, and
Yeah.
we'd probably never see
You probably
a
won't see more
player
than
like
an 8 year
that.
contract
Yeah, at this rate, 7 or 8, actually 6 seems to be like the heaviest that you really see now.
because yeah, Gaudreau signed a
Like the
7.
most often.
Yeah.
Penguins just signed everybody to a 6.
Yeah.
Tanev, Raquel, Tang,
Yeah.
all these guys who have limited skill sets.
Yep. All right.
But I digress.
All right. Now we go on to basketball for the first time, where the Golden State Warriors signed Chris Webber to a 15-year, $74.4 million contract, which was 1.6 million in the first year and 4.6 million every year after, which was his entry level contract, by the way.
Yes,
But
at this point in time, there was no rules or like
there was
structure
no
to a
ELC
standard
structure.
rookie deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this
Well,
contract had an
there's no
option.
ELC, but
Yeah. This contract had an option for Weber to player opt out,
after his first year,
which, to no one's
he was.
surprise, he did.
Yes.
What the heck? What?
And that's why you take him first overall, so that you can lose him immediately after.
For nothing, because you gave him a player option. What the heck did I just see?
Well, let me tell you. What makes it worse was this might have. I know we talked about the Orlando Magic in the last episode. They this might have been like the smartest thing that they ever did, because the Magic selected him and traded him on draft night.
Wait,
And
what? Well, what, they traded him so they got something, right?
Weber was selected by the Orlando Magic with the first pick, becoming the first sophomore since Magic Johnson to be selected number one. They immediately traded him to the Golden State Warriors in exchange for Penny Hardaway and 3 future first round picks.
And Golden State signed him to a player option first year deal.
Yes, and nothing says this is stupid than watching your guy play 1 year, win Rookie of the Year, make
And then
All
leave.
NBA rookie first team, and then leave. So
Great.
basically, he played a prove it deal to be in the league,
Mm-hmm.
and he won. He bet on himself. He got the accolades, and he
Yep.
left. So
That's the
he
that is
went.
the worst contract in its own way for the sports team. Great contract for Weber. Terrible for the sports team. All right. Well, let's continue. We're back to baseball here, where we have Miguel Cabrera
Right, I'm
signing.
looking. I want to see how he went to the Washington Bullets. I want to see how they did in the next 4 years. And I just want to say maybe Google searching 1994 Bullets wasn't the like best idea I ever made, but it gave me the right results.
Okay.
So in the 4 years that he played for the Bullets, let's see here. 21 and 61,
Okay.
39 and 43,
Okay. That's not bad.
44, 38,
That's not bad.
42 and 40.
That's not bad. But how much did he make?
Well, let's see if I can find that. I don't know that that information is going to be there, and maybe it is. Let's see here. He made 7 million, uh, 7 million, 8 million, and 9 million.
So two
For
seven
whatever
millions.
for whatever reason, Spotrac thinks that he actually played 1994 or 95 in Golden State. All the other sites that we've checked before recording this seem to say otherwise.
Yeah. All
But
right. Well,
yeah,
he made more
he
money, which was his goal, I
he
guess.
made 2 million in his first year with Washington.
Yeah.
Because I trust Basketball Reference to have captured everything.
Yeah. All right. Well, now on to Cabrera, Miguel Cabrera, who signed an 8-year, $248 million contract.
At the
Um.
age of,
He signed it at the age of 34.
okay, that's always when you extend good players outside of the Penguins.
Yeah. So his lowest actual amount paid is 28 million. His highest is 32 million, right?
Sounds like he's owed a lot more money.
Yeah, and he's 39 right now with 3 years more left on his contract. He does not really produce this number though.
Well, I will say this: the old man stole third base the other day, so
Yes,
it did take somebody throwing over the third baseman's head by about 20 feet, but
but he
he
did
got
it.
there. Got there.
Yeah. Was it a $28 million third base steal though?
I can guarantee you it wasn't a $28 million third baseman. Actually, I can't guarantee that. What if it was against? Um,
Oh.
I'm going to trace this down. You keep going.
But yeah, like he was a good player, but you don't sign 34-year-olds who are going to end the contract at 42 to a $30 million a year contract basically. You just don't do that. So I don't understand what the Tigers were thinking.
Getting closer here. Emmanuel Rivera.
No way. Nah.
Emmanuel Rivera. $700,000
Nope. Yep. Thought I told you.
on a 1-year deal.
All right. Let's
And
look at a.
wait,
Let,
wait, wait. Yeah, either way, the two catchers I'm looking at, because I have to factor in the catcher for the Royals who also made the horrible throw.
yeah, but there's no way he's a
Neither one.
$28 million catching.
Well, Salvador Perez was pretty good. I just need to see if he was still on the team.
Uh,
He's hurt. Okay, so, but yes, he was making 20.5 million. So fuck you.
Anyway, next baseball player, Albert Pujols, who left the Cardinals for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Actually, I do have to apologize because it wasn't Salvador Perez who made the throw. It was somebody who was making. Uh, Actually, both the other catchers make 700,000 a year. So no matter how you slice it, third baseman or catcher, it was a $700,000 throw
Okay.
catch.
Okay, well, anyway, so yeah, Albert Pujols signed a 10-year, $240 million contract that was super backloaded.
You mean 42-year-old in the home run derby at the age of 42? Are you kidding? MLB, you make stupid decisions, Albert Pujols, right?
Yep. And
This is 2022,
it
and they
was
actually put an old man in basically diapers in the home run derby and said, hit a ball for the next 15 minutes, and you do not get more than a 30-second break.
anyway, his contract was severely backloaded. But he was released in 2021, and he went on to make a reunion with the Cardinals, where it's the only place he ever succeeded.
Yeah. I mean, it was honestly, it would have been a great deal for the Angels if they had released him sooner,
Yeah,
but especially because he was only a one-time All-Star
yeah.
in his tenure with the Angels. But um, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Like he didn't really get bought out of that
Nope.
as much as it just kind of mutually fell apart
Yeah.
because I don't. The Angels did not want to keep playing him at the age of 39
Nope.
or 40, whatever the hell it was.
Nope. Definitely
And
not.
it's amazing in sports. Like, yes, I get that players need to feed their families and stuff forever, but you like, and not to keep going back to the Penguins, but you really got to stop paying players guaranteed money into their 40s.
Yeah.
You really need to stop that by age 38.
38's gotten it.
It is cutting it, and that's why you can't keep pushing it to 40.
Yeah. All
Like
right.
38 is kind of pushing it. Like David Clarkson is 38 now.
Yeah,
He's
but
been
his
out of the
role,
league
okay,
for 7 years.
his role was never a $5 million NHL maker, though, like money maker.
Right, but they gave him a contract as if he was going to play till 40.
You don't understand. No other team would have given him that contract. Like, all Devils
Right,
fans,
so why was one team giving him that contract?
you have to ask Toronto, man. They have too much dough, apparently.
Well, yeah, they didn't have any problem recouping it and giving it to Tavares to load his baby fucking house too. That the whole world can see that he fondled himself as a teenager in Maple Leaf sheets.
Anyway, next contract. Prince Fielder, 9-year, $214 million.
Yeah, and this one is more like not really the fault of anybody, just kind of
Yeah,
unfortunate
this one's like the most
circumstance.
unfortunate of the bunch, but yeah, Tigers were trying to make a push to win, basically. So they signed Cabrera, Kinsler, and Victor
No,
Martinez.
Kinsler was in the trade. We found because this is a re-recording. We tried to do this when Sean was here
Yeah.
July 4th. I found out after the initial recording, Kinsler was traded in the Prince Fielder deal.
Oh. Okay. But yeah, they were still trying to get a winning team, right? But after Fielder signed that, it really didn't work out. He ended up being traded to the Texans 2 years after, so in 2014. Uh,
Not the Texans.
Texas, the Rangers. That
Okay,
guy.
I could swear you said Texans, but
Yes, I did, but the Rangers. The Texas Rangers is what I meant.
yeah,
Sorry. Uh
had to be
Anyway,
done.
he eventually had to retire due to injury, which is unfortunate. He was good before this contract though. Like everybody was pretty hyped for it.
Yes, and not to mention that their lineup on most days in 2013 was Alex Avila himself, Omar Infante, Johnny Peralta, Miguel Cabrera, Torrey Hunter, Victor Martinez, and then what people thought was going to be a good Austin Jackson.
Yep.
It did
Which
not end
should
up
have
as.
made a championship run really.
Not to mention pitchers of Doug Fister, Anibal Sanchez, Max Scherzer, Rick Porcello, Justin Verlander.
Yep. So, I don't know. All right. Next, we have two contracts for the price of one. Both Ryan Suter and Zach Parise signed 13-year, $98 million contracts to play for their home team, basically. Literally identical. They both kind of just fell off a cliff in terms of
Yeah.
production. Both ended up being bought out last year. So Parise went to the Islanders and Suter to the Stars. Like seriously though, both of their productions just kind of went down when they were supposed to be the star players,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting paid to be these star players.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, like there were some wild teams where they didn't have any supporting cast, but like even then they still didn't produce as the players. So I don't know. That contract was just all levels of bad. As a Devils fan, I really wanted to keep Parise, but there was no way. Like we dodged a
The,
bullet.
the deal was too enticing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the dumber thing of all these is doing it twice at the same time.
But also, I
Without a
think
doubt.
the Devils could have offered him more at the time. It's just he wanted to go back to Minnesota.
Yeah. Again, we talk about why are you doing things to oversell when you have a deal that can work. If he was going to go back to Minnesota and he was so hell bent on going to Minnesota, why did he need a what 13-year deal to do it?
Yeah, but he took less money apparently.
Okay, yeah, I can tell you that because 13. I mean, that's basically he was making less money than Luongo.
Yep.
Um, but with that being said, you know, it, I'm trying to think of the words here. Unless that was the Wild's initial offer,
Yeah.
they massively oversold.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But I know if he didn't want to go back, I'm sure he could have got more money for
Yeah.
less term, probably, but still. So yeah, this deal was just all kinds of bad because they did it twice, and neither player really performed to any extent. All right,
Well, Ryan Sutter kind of did.
eh,
He
still
was
not.
still a multi-time All-Star, but like the way that the NHL works is basically everybody gets a player.
Yep,
It's like every little league All-Star.
yep. All right, last contract, which isn't a sports team's contract; it's a sports network's contract. Tom Brady signed a 10-year, $375 million contract, which
After he
will go
unretired.
into effect when he actually retires again.
Right. This was something that maybe was negotiated when he was in his month-long retirement, but was not signed
Until after.
and sealed until after, as far as the general public knows,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it all the more interesting. And you gotta hope, as the TV network, that there's some kind of clause or opt out for the network somewhere. Because if Brady sucks at being an analyst, They're on the hook for a lot of money otherwise.
Yep. And just for reference, right? This is the largest sports news broadcaster ever, or at least in the US.
In recorded U.S. television, um, I think Brian Williams at one point, now granted, he's been kicked off of NBC News for a long time now, and the dollar was different than it is now.
Yep.
But I think he was making not close to that, but probably one of the closest earnings to that
Yeah.
before Tony Romo.
But
Um,
then, and also for reference, currently Tony Romo is the highest paid NFL analyst at $175 million, right?
mhm,
In his contract for however
mhm,
long it is.
mhm.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like Romo didn't make this type of money when he first left, and Romo at least now we know Romo adds something, whether you like it or not, to the broadcast. I know, like, you can like a broadcaster or not. You really don't watch a broadcast for the caster. You watch it for your team anyway.
what's more interesting is, and I don't think I looked this up when we initially recorded it. Brady, with 1 year left on his contract, he's going to make 30 million this year,
Mm-hmm.
and so overall, his career earnings are going to be 333 million.
Yeah, so he's making more.
He's already slated to make more and in less time in his next phase.
But
By
also, Brady took hella team friendly contracts at New England.
no, he restructured a lot.
Yeah.
Restructuring in the NFL just turns your money into signing bonuses and doesn't count against the cap.
Oh. Oh, great. They really should count signing bonuses. That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
well, that's how a lot of quarterbacks, get big name guys to come play with them. Is they'll say, "I'll take a little touch less," because I will give you this though. In 2018-19, he did sign a 2 year Patriots contract for $30 million.
Yeah, that's
Now,
ridiculously cheap.
the signing bonus was 10 million. So
It's still
again,
ridiculously cheap, right? 40 million,
right, but he's basically making
20 million
10
a year.
million a year.
Yeah.
No, 10 million.
Yeah.
And that's below average for
Yeah.
an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just like baffled at this. Like he's really done nothing to deserve this.
He's really done nothing to deserve making over double what the next person makes.
Yeah. And Romo had to work for this contract. It's not like he just got 175 million when he started.
Yeah. Yeah, Brady's really on a revenge tour to get that money back from being a seventh round draft pick or whatever it was, sixth round. Because apparently in his rookie deal, he over the 3 years made less than $1 million.
Yep.
He made 288,000 a year.
Yep.
Must be tough.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, yeah. So originally this episode was in person, but technical difficulties. So hopefully when we get back together next time, we don't have this.
Sean
Uh
has learned his lesson to not leave his microphone in another state.
yeah. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.